So my background in ethnic studies first began before I even knew that I was learning ethnic studies. I'm a transfer student from Ohlone College in Fremont, and that was my first time that I was exposed to Filipino American literature by way of poetry. And not until I went to San Francisco State University, that's where I was first exposed to Asian American studies and ethnic studies more broadly. I was combing through the class schedule, and there was a particular class. It was Psyche and Behavior of Filipino Americans, and I think for me it was just kind of like, wow, there's a course on Filipino Americans in the catalog. Let me just sign up for that since I need an elective. And that class was kind of like the turning point for me to just kind of feel and learn about myself in ways that I hadn't before. And it was really at SF State that I became more active in terms of like organizing on campus with students, student leadership, things like that. And the rich history of San Francisco State University in particular was really nice because of the connections that it has historically and the activist movements that are going around there. So there are many times that I found myself volunteering in the South of Market, working on behalf or with alongside the Veterans Equity Movement for Filipino American veterans that haven't been paid their benefits, right, after serving in the United States Armed Forces. And so it was a culmination of all these different things that allowed me to really see myself in the curriculum, but then also see the importance of connecting myself to my history, my family, and as well as my position in my community. So after taking all the classes I could in Asian American Studies and Ethnic Studies, my kind of turn to education was around when I was finishing up at SF State, and that was in this class in Rasa 580. It was Education Equity, and that was taught by Jeff Duncan Andrade. And for me, that kind of gave me a really solid foundation in terms of theoretical frameworks, understanding schooling, understanding several different concepts in terms of things like tracking and inequity versus equality, right? And so it was in that class that I kind of was wondering too, like, well, how has my educational trajectory been shaped, and what about ethnic studies was it that I was more drawn to learning? And so while I was at SF State pursuing my master's, I was a part of Pinay Pinoy Educational Partnerships, otherwise known as PEP. And PEP is a service learning ethnic studies pipeline that goes into schools and partners with schools throughout San Francisco Unified School District. And the two sites I was teaching at was Philip and Sally Burton High School in the Visitation Valley, as well as I was one of the core teachers that helped found the Denman Middle School, James Denman Middle School program. And in PEP, what we were really able to do was to take the theoretical frameworks of critical pedagogy, culturally responsive pedagogy, culturally relevant pedagogy, and ethnic studies and teach that to the young people in the schools that we were serving. And for me, that was a wonderful opportunity to become a teacher. In PEP, I was also working with teachers and supervising them, providing them feedback. And the unique and kind of innovative novel part of what we do is that PEP teaches in barangays, or smaller units. So you were never in the classroom by yourself. It was 3 or 4 people at one time. And one of the important lessons that I got from that, and I think that ethnic studies reminds us, is the kind of collective communal aspect of doing this in solidarity with or in communion with other people, and in service of the folks that you're working with, right? I believe in my first year in PEP, one of my mentors, Professor Alison Tintianco Cubales, extended an invitation for me to be a part of a summer program, which was essentially the pilot program for ethnic studies in San Francisco Unified School District. So over the course of the summer, we collaborated with social science teachers from across SFUSD to research and create the curriculum that became then the pilot curricula. At that time, I didn't really know how kind of important that work we were doing was. And years later, after the board kind of approved it unanimously to have it in schools, then I was able to see like the importance of that work, and I think I wasn't able to see it because we were already doing it, right? We were already bringing ethnic studies into the schools, creating partnerships between community, families, and the university.